So guys, this is my review for the Case Study of Vanitas episode 10, and with that guys, let's jump right into this review of episode 10. Let's get it. So the title of this episode is called Number 69, and that pretty much is centered around Vanitas. And so where we left off last week, he comes into this place. He's in search of Dr. Moro, and he ends up finding him at the tail end of the episode. Open arms, because again, during the towards the end of last week's episode, that Vanitas was definitely like focused on trying to find Moro. He had like this literal focus of needing to find him so that he can more than likely gain some information. And we sort of get something from Dr. Moro here in the episode. But Vanitas, he basically, like, again, like I said, he's welcoming Dr. Moro open arms. Just like it's good to see you, blah blah blah. They have an embrace and this, that, and the third. But he tells Noé that I'm basically like pulling his chain and just having him, like, kind of goading him to tell us the information that we need about the missing vampires and this, that, and the third. And I really did enjoy the fact that during this episode, like, it was like a twofold, right? In this conversation, because, like, Roland was trying to ask him questions, Vanitas was trying to, like, not make it seem like suspicious wise stuff, right? And like they were being suspicious with their questions towards Moro. Moro, he, even though he is like telling them some information, he's smart enough to know that he can't say everything. He even mentions about a specific person helping him with his research, with to find out about the vampires and stuff. He even says it here in the episode that I want to become a vampire. This is his ultimate goal, because he encountered a vampire many moons ago, and he wants to become a vampire, and that's always been his goal, which is why he's been researching. But at the same time, he because he was basically killing some vampires, which we also saw and found out information from last week's episode, that they have the room full of the vampire skulls, that he also has a jar with vampire eyes in them. Kind of reminded me of Kurapika's people from Hunter x Hunter, when his people with the eyeballs in the jar. So with that, we gain that information about him wanting to be a vampire, and also about him having some help from somebody specific. And of course, Vanitas is trying to find out that information. But then stuff starts to pick up a little bit later on in this conversation. Now, one thing I did forget to mention is that at the very opening, just before the intro credits, there was something that was centered around Vanitas' past, and we get to see a little bit of it more throughout this episode. It was when Vanitas was younger, and it was him and this other little boy, but there was basically an adult there, and that adult was actually the original Vanitas. We got a bit of a small glimpse of what the original Vanitas looked like, and that person was basically talking to Vanitas, current Vanitas, right? But what ends up happening, they end up trying to goad a little bit more, like force Monroe to talk about who this other person that he mentioned earlier in the conversation that's helping him out, because he wasn't giving up the name. He even said it like, I know not to say key things even to you, Vanitas, but this, that, and the third. But he does end up mentioning to Vanitas. He tells him, he says, well, what about what about number 71. He says this to Vanitas, and of course we get the scene here where he's in shock. He's just like, oh, like he's talking about somebody, a key person from his past, and that person was that little boy at the beginning of the episode. But we don't know his name. We just know him by the number. And that little boy like looks up to Vanitas as his older brother. He calls him Big Bro and stuff like that. So we get the chance to see what his I wanna say like his adopted little brother looks like here in the episode. Because they tried to like forcefully tell Moreau to get Moreau to tell them about this other person, that a fight ensues. One of the charlatans pops up and basically saves Moreau from getting hurt and damaged and stuff like that, and force some more to talk. But he ends up knocking out Vanitas, and this is him laying here. He ends up having like a brief minor dream of his adopted little brother here, number 71. He's here right here, and he's basically talking to him like, he's saying like, why did you allow, father, talking about Dr. Moreau, why did you allow father to get taken away or something? I believe that's what he was saying. Like he was just basically like blaming Vanitas for something that happened to their dad in this moment from a past conversation. So we get a chance to see number 71 here in the episode throughout the course of the episode from Vanitas' memory. But again, once he snaps out of it, then things start to get even more real moving forward in the episode. So what ends up happening during the episode, that there is a door in the room. It starts getting banged on, and Dr. Moreau basically says, "Oh, the creature has awoken," and it's this shadowy creature. It's basically called the Shadow. It basically has a curse bearer inside of it that Vanitas and Noé decides that, technically it was Noé, which I found very funny, that Noé was like, look, like he had to wake Vanitas up, and he's like, look, we need to try to defeat this thing because it's causing too much problems for us. But Vanitas is like, we can't damage it and stuff like that. But then that's when Noé suggests like, hey, if we can't damage it on the outside, maybe we could do it on the inside. And Vanitas is like, well, what do you? No, wait, no, don't do. We're not gonna do them. If we jump in there, we're gonna die. But Noé is like, look, like we need to just still attempt to do it. I'm gonna do it even if you don't, blah blah blah. But Vanitas he basically accepted it, and they do indeed jump on in the mouth of the shadow here, and then we get to see what's on the inside, because the shadow was actually eating some of the chassiers during its introduction. But again, we get to see the inside of its body during this fight in the episode. And here it is. This is the inside of the shadow. It's like an endless pit. There's a little boy there in the center who basically is a curse bearer, right? And they're in here trying to figure out how to defeat it. And eventually it like engulfs them in this like shadowy ball that's like surrounded by water, and it's choking them. But Vanitas ends up using the book to basically cure it from the curse bearer, and they pretty much save the little boy and save another teenager on the side too, if I remember correctly. But they get through it, and but seeing the inside of this shadow was just cool, because it had like all the other people that it ate floating around on the inside of his body. And like I said, it looks like an endless pit. Like it would be like just like you would just float even further into the depths of its body and just be in there forever, for eternity basically. But it was just a cool spot that I thought was really, really cool here for the episode. And then once all that occurs, once they defeat the shadow and they escape, Vanitas and Noé had a little bit of a conversation that they found funny, because they were basically laughing it off, and they were saying they couldn't believe that they got through it. They thought that they were going to die, and Roland thought that was a humbling moment for him, because from what he had been brought up, he basically was told that humans and vampires would never see eye to eye, they would never get along. but he actually sees it in that moment. He watches them laugh, and then we get the introduction to another chasseur here by the name of Olivier, and he's upset with Roland, but Roland tells him like, look, I just saw a human and a vampire getting along when I was told that that would never be the case, and it just really brought joy to my heart. But at the same time, Olivier, he still believes that this is still an issue, but you know, again, Roland's not taking it seriously and stuff like that, just because of that moment. He's just too caught up in the moment of you know, Vanitas and Noé having their moment of fun and clarity and stuff like that. But again, Olivier is introduced here at the end of the episode, and we you know, we get to see Roland just be excited with joy at the fact that Noé and Vanitas, a vampire and a human, got along in such a great heartwarming moment. So at the tail end of the episode, Vanitas and Noé are outside the building. They're, you know, coming down on the rush of everything that had happened, but something that Noé was thinking about, because they were just talking, and Noé was basically saying to Vanitas that, well, he was saying in his mind about Vanitas that he was saying like, yeah, like, I know that Vanitas keeps talking about, you know, this vengeance, keeps talking about going out and saving all vampires and stuff like that, but he does say in his mind, he's like, well, maybe he believes that there's a saying like, maybe the person who is going out to give out salvation to the people, maybe they're actually doing it for themselves. Like maybe the savior is actually trying to save himself during this process. So it was just something that he was thinking to himself, like maybe, you know, Vanitas, who's trying to be the savior for the vampire, is actually saving himself. And so it's just really interesting to see this moment here at the end of episode 10, just before it closed out, that I really found intrigued by it. And it definitely makes me think that maybe this is true for Vanitas, that he is, you know, just like doing this to bring more peace for himself, more so than it is that he's trying to do for the vampires in existence, that he's trying to bring peace to the vampire people, but it's more so for him specifically. So just all in all, really great episode 10, guys. Really enjoyed episode 10 this week. But what did you all think of the episode when you first sat down to watch it? Leave some comments in the comment section below of this video. Let's talk about some things. But other than that, I will talk to you all next time with more The Case Study of Vanitas. Peace, guys.